for daily Ask Reddit r/Ask Reddit. What rule was implemented because of you? Marbles being banned at my elementary school. I vaguely remember the convoluted rules we had for playing marbles in 3rd grade, but one that was written in stone was that if you lost a game, you had to throw away a marble of your own. This often drew a crowd of participants eager to get their tiny hands on a free marble. One day, I lost a game and was forced to throw a marble away. We called it scrambling. I had stupidly agreed to offer up as ante for the game my prize boulder, a heavy marble with intricately woven colors that was about the size of a golf ball. When it was time to throw it away, a large crowd of kids had gathered, impatiently jeering me to toss it and start the melee. I took one last look at my boulder and, in a surge of 8-year-old rage, launched it with all my strength. I still remember it gleaming against the deep blue sky as it left my hand. It sailed, flew over the group's head, their mouths agape in amazement. It flew until it struck some poor blonde kid in the head, who was just walking along kicking dandelions, totally oblivious to the incoming projectile. It hit him hard. To this day I still recall the way his head snapped back in Zapruder-like fashion. He dropped instantly, like a bag of old socks. We all scattered to the 4 corners of the playground as teachers ran to his side. The following day a letter was sent home to every parent, banning all marbles. Poor Blondie McMarblehead, I forget his name, this was 32 years ago, was off school for about a week. Edit, spelling. That reminds me of when I almost killed my friend George. We were at my friend Travis' 15th birthday. He lived kind of out in the country, so most of his birthday was driving his go-karts and ATVs out on his property. But this story is a lot more simple than that. He had a rope swing over a steep hill. You'd swing out over the hill, temporarily be about 20 feet over the ground below, then return. Sounds easy, right? It should be, but George had a fear of heights. He was sitting on the swing, too scared to go, for like 15 minutes, while the rest of us were waiting for our turn. I picked up a 5-pound rock. I kept jokingly threatening to throw it out in the path of the rope swing. I had no intention of throwing the rock anywhere near him. In exasperation I threw the rock out into the path of the swing while turning around. So basically a no-look toss over my shoulder, right when he happened to actually go, and it hit him right on top of the head. He bled so much. He had a minor concussion and needed stitches. I felt so bad. Mine and his friendship was already on the rocks, and this certainly didn't help. School changed dorm room pet rules to any animal that breathes air is not allowed after my roommate, and I were done living there. The horribly unscientific answer, we assume, was just a dumb way of saying fish, and only fish allowed as pets. What pets did you bring? The iguana was everyone's favorite. Small little incident of him getting into the vent system, but, come on, he's a cutie. Might have been a tarantula also. He didn't get out though, but oh, that would been awesome. Years ago, I bought a computer from Dell. I paid for it with my debit card and excitedly monitored the build status every day, checking in at work and on my days off going to the library to check on expected shipping updates. When I made the purchase, it was a 5 to 7 day expectation for delivery. At day 10, when it had gone from order accepted to order prep to order built, it suddenly went back to order accepted. Stage 1. I called their customer service line and was told there had been a glitch in the system and the order got expedited and soon was back at order built and I was just waiting on shipping confirmation. The next day, back to order accepted again. This happened every day for 5 days. Cue another call to customer service. Apparently, there was a problem with payment, and they referred me back to my bank because the payment was on hold. Called my credit union, and they told me it was just an authorization hold waiting on final confirmation from the merchant. Called Dell back, and they saw the same thing, but even the customer service director couldn't say why it hadn't finalized, but every time the payment didn't finalize they literally took the box with the computer off the loading dock and sent it back to stage 1, again and again and again. This led to a long hold, while the customer service director looked into their billing system and ended up transferring me to a very nice lady in their accounting department. Initially, she thought I was an in-house person from the listing dock asking about a customer's order, but quickly got up to speed. She was covering for a coworker who helped with in-house billing system troubleshooting who was out on vacation and usually just handled tracking the accounting from Dell, sending parts from one warehouse and factory to another. But she dug in and figured out that the issue was that I was paying with a debit card, not a credit card. Now, debit cards were still relatively new. Most banks capped the amount you could spend per day at $250 to $500, but my credit union was one of only 5 financial institutions that didn't cap it at all. They proudly noted on a monthly statement insert that the credit union felt that it was your money to manage the way you wanted to. However, Dell didn't accept debit cards at all, not for a dime, not for the $800 I was trying to spend. The nice lady in accounting, however, had just come back from a conference and knew that there was a push to get more banks to act like my credit union and remove their spending caps. She told me to hang tight and she was going to get it done for me. I told her I could change my payment method to a credit card, but she told me that would delay the whole process. 2 days later, I got a call from her. She had made a presentation to the CEO, CFO, and several VPs making the case that Dell needed to get ahead of the curve and start accepting debit cards with no spending limits because the banking rules were going to be changing very soon and more people were going to be spending money with Dell the way I tried to. They had to implement a process to start accepting debit cards, which had required a rush overnight change from their merchant bank, and my purchase was their test case. She had me check with my credit union, who showed the funds were officially a purchase and not just an authorization hold. Then she called the loading dock and made sure my computer was on a track. Within 10 minutes I had an email with a tracking number. TL, Doctor, I'm the reason Dell takes debit cards. Not taking shelter while a tornado is on the ground is considered insubordination. Edit. Lol, it's not much of one. I was working late to meet some deadlines and my job allows flex time. So basically I can work up to 4 hours extra spread out over the week and bail 4 hours early on another day, as long as it's the same pay period and I arrange it in advance. I had to get this stuff in before deadline or I could not leave early the next day. So I was working extra BC. I had a doctor app coming up. It's like 6:30 PM when the sirens go off. There are maybe 20 of us still in the building and people go into the stairway. A few people just go home. So I tell a co-worker I'm not going to seek shelter and I'll be working. Cool NP. Well, I'm working when around 7 PM the sirens are going off again and there is a dude coming from the tech department making sure everyone seeks shelter. I don't recognize him, but whatever, we go through tech people like no one's business. He tells me to seek shelter. I say unless it's in the handbook I'm not doing, I have work to do. We have long stare. He says something about the tornado being X far away and I'm like, I know, I saw it earlier out the other window. It's just a baby one, won't even break glass and it's not heading this way. Long stare. He seeks shelter. See him as I leave around 8 PM and he says something along the lines of looks like I was right about handbook and tornado being small, but it was a giant legal risk if I had been wrong. Found out the next day that dude was a CFO. He had the handbook amended so anyone who left the building or didn't seek shelter would be considered insubordinate.